What if you could sit down with some of the world's most successful founders and just soak up decades of their wisdom, distill it all into a single roadmap? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to explore their journey, not just for building a company, but for building a life. Let's dive in and see what we can learn. And this right here from Jeff Bezos, this really gets to the heart of it all, doesn't it? Every great founder's story, every big life change, it all starts with a single, high-stakes choice. And the real fear? It isn't failing. No, the real fear is looking back years from now and being absolutely haunted by that question, what if? And that's really the big idea we're going to be unwrapping. Just think of your life as a story. And guess what? You're the author. Every single decision you make is another sentence, another paragraph on the page. The whole goal is to write a story that you'll actually be proud to read someday. All right, so where does a great story even begin? Well, the first chapter is all about finding that initial spark, that inner fire. It's about finding your true north. You know, right at the beginning, every founder faces this choice. Do you chase whatever is hot right now, the thing everyone's talking about? Or do you follow a genuine passion, something that comes from deep inside? The funny thing is, the most successful founders are pretty much unanimous on this. A trend, it'll burn out. But real passion, that's built for the long, hard journey ahead. But look, passion by itself isn't quite enough. It needs to be aimed at something. It needs a goal. This is what turns a simple hobby into a real mission. When your passion is locked onto a clear purpose, that goal becomes your guiding light. It's the thing that's going to pull you through all the obstacles that are inevitably going to get in your way. So, you found your spark. You've got your goal. Eventually, you're going to hit a crossroads. And that brings us to the next chapter, the leap. This is that moment where passion demands action, and you have to make a choice. Jeff Bezos just frames this choice so perfectly. Are you going to play it safe, stick to the well-worn path, or are you going to be, as he puts it, a little bit swashbuckling? It's just a fantastic way to think about it, right? What's your own appetite for adventure and, a little bit of calculated risk? And for Bezos, this wasn't some abstract idea. This was real. On one side, he had a secure, super high-paying job at a top financial firm. On the other, this crazy idea to sell books on the internet, something most people at the time thought was just a fad. It was security versus vision, the known versus the totally unknown. So how did he make the call? Well, he actually invented a mental model for himself, one that you can totally use too. He called it the regret minimization framework. He literally pictured himself at 80 years old, looking back on his life. And from that vantage point, he asked one dead simple question. Which path will I regret the least? And for him, the answer was just crystal clear. He knew he would regret not trying way more than he'd ever regret trying and failing. And this is key. Now is the time to be bold. Why? Because when you're younger, you just have fewer obligations. The risks you take, they're mostly on you. As you get older, maybe build a family, every risk you take is shared. It doesn't mean you stop, but the math definitely changes. So the big takeaway here is, if you have a bold idea, the best time to go for it is probably right now. Okay, so you've found your passion, you've taken the leap, the story is getting really good. But now comes the part they don't always show in the highlight reel. Chapter 3, the grind. This is all about the real price of ambition. 100. That's the number. The number of hours Elon Musk says you need to work per week to change the world. His logic is just brutally simple. If everyone else is working a 50-hour week and you're working 100, you're going to achieve in 4 months what takes them a full year. It's a crazy, almost unbelievable benchmark, but for him, it's a measure of pure, relentless effort. And listen, this wasn't just a theory for him. When Musk and his brothers started their very first company, this was their actual life. Instead of an apartment, they rented a tiny office. They slept on the couch. They showered at the local YMCA. They only had one computer between them, so the website was live during the day, which meant Elon had to code all night, every single night. That's the grind. But here's the thing. The grind isn't just about the hours you put in. It's also about what happens during those hours. And this is where Bezos' insight is just so critical. The path of invention is absolutely paved with failure. You have to experiment. And what is an experiment? It's something that might not work. If you already know the outcome, it's not an experiment. Failure and invention, they're inseparable twins. Embracing that is a huge part of the price of ambition. Okay, this brings us to our final and maybe our most important chapter. You can have the passion, you can take the leap, you can even survive the grind, but none of it is sustainable without the right internal foundation. This part is all about building your inner fortress. I love this term, positive paranoid. It's this idea that you are incredibly optimistic about the long-term vision. You know you're going to win in the end. But at the same time, you are deeply pessimistic and paranoid about the short term. You are constantly scanning the horizon for what could go wrong tomorrow. It's this duality that keeps you both inspired and safe. And building that inner fortress, that's exactly what Warren Buffett is talking about when he says this. He truly believes the single greatest investment you can ever make, one with returns that blow everything else away, is in yourself. Your skills, your knowledge, your character. Nobody can ever tax that, and nobody can ever take it away from you. So how do you actually do that? Well, Buffett gives us a pretty clear blueprint. First, master communication. He swears it will instantly increase your value by at least 50%. Second, make it a point to associate with people who are better than you are. You'll naturally start to drift in their direction. Choose your heroes carefully because you will end up emulating them. And, maybe most importantly, pick a life partner who is better than you are, someone who elevates you. At the end of the day, all of this self-investment really boils down to one core habit: continuous learning. A commitment to being a lifelong learner isn't just a nice little bonus anymore. In a world that's changing this fast, it's pretty much the only way to stay relevant and to keep on growing. And that brings us right back to where we started. We've journeyed through the spark, the leap, the grind, and the mindset. We've seen how, in the end, we really are our choices. Your life is a story. You get to author it from scratch, starting this very moment. So the only question left is, what will the next chapter be?